Welcome to the Dirt Down Under with Julia Wheeler and Paul Degelder, where we will get into the itty-bitty nitty-gritty of conservation here in Australia and around the world. We'll be chatting with some of the most prominent people in the conservation space, spinning warriors and telling stories, and my beautiful, stunning Amazonian goddess co-host Julia Wheeler is across from me, and I'm Paul Degelder. Welcome to the show. What's going on, Julia?
Where did you pull that from?
What?
What you just said?
I just created it.
That was amazing.
Thank you.
You made us sound like we know what we're doing.
I have literally no idea.
And me neither.
That's all right. Oh, what are we doing? We're just talking. We're telling stories, spinning warriors. I don't even know if everyone knows what that means, but that's an army term for just telling stories and never let the truth get in the way of a good yarn.
No, but seriously, I mean, it's so good to be sitting here with you. You know, we met, 7 years ago?
Was it?
Yeah, you were dating a beauty queen.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
I remember that. That was an interesting time of my life.
It was.
Yeah, and we didn't really stay in touch that much except for on social media a little bit. But whenever we met up, it was just kind of, it just works.
Yeah.
You know?
We work. We do.
Yeah.
And it's so good to have you back in Australia. You are here now recording a few episodes for Shark Week for Discovery, which is awesome. And yeah, I guess I had a little bit of a trip back to Bondi and we reconnected, 3 weeks ago?
Yep.
And all of a sudden we are now doing a radio show together.
Yeah, I don't know how this happened. This is all you, by the way. You did every single bit of this. All I did was nod my head and say, sure. And now I'm sitting in a radio station.
And I think this is going to be really fun.
Yeah, of course. And it's meaningful. That's what I like about it. You know, it's not just up here, us two talking. I can't swear, can I?
You're not allowed to swear on radio.
Talking garbage. Like this is meaningful. We're going to have some really good conservational people in here, people and groups trying to make the world a better place, trying to save the animals.
Yeah.
Things that everyone really wants, you know. We're living on this planet together. We want it to last for, at least another generation maybe.
And given that we're going through our 6th mass extinction, I think, it's important to kind of, in a way, make a little light heart of the situation because it is quite daunting. So
there will be no fun had here.
Okay, well, But Paul, look, I want to start with asking you a few questions.
All right.
Okay. Why? Because I want to get to know you a little bit more. You know, we've known each other, yes, kept in touch for 7 years more as acquaintances, but now working together, I guess there's a few questions I haven't really asked you before.
All right.
And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to get started and get into it.
All right.
So
cool.
Are you ready?
Hit me.
All right. What I find absolutely incredible and so inspiring about you is that you've had your arm and your leg bitten off by a bull shark, yet you chose the path of conservation whereby you are now sharing with the entire world how important it is for all of us as humans to save and protect the ocean and the sharks within it. I mean, why?
Oh, geez. Look, before I was working with Discovery Channel, before I was a speaker, all this stuff will come up, I guess, in the following questions. I was in the military, and I spent 4 years in the Army paratroopers, and then I switched to the Navy clearance divers. And my job, as I see it, was to be a protector, to speak up for those that can't speak for themselves, to stand up for those that can't stand up for themselves against people that would do them harm or things that would do them harm. And when I left the military, when I left the Navy in 2012, and I was asked to start speaking and doing a bit of television and working with sharks, I just kind of saw it as a transfer of that service. So now instead of standing up for people, I'm standing up for something else that doesn't have a voice, that can't stand up and speak for itself, but at the same time is being slaughtered on a mass scale that has never been done before, and pushing species to the brink of extinction and creating a detrimental sort of cascade on the whole ocean environment, and not just the ocean environment, but the whole planet. And this is our home. This is where we live. We have to look after it, or we're just going to destroy it. And you know what? The world will go on. The animals will go on. The plants will live. They'll come back.
And we will die.
And we will die.
Kind of like COVID.
I just want people to understand that we get a choice in this. And that, that's why I agreed to do this radio show with you as well, because it creates a larger audience for us and our platform to talk about the things we're passionate about in conservation, but also to bring other people in that have different aspects or different knowledge and education and a more broader knowledge than we might have. Because I work with sharks. I'm not a shark expert. I get called that on television a lot, and it makes me cringe. I would never take that title away from the actual scientific experts, but I do know a lot more than the normal person. I have probably done a lot more with sharks than most scientists in the realm of getting into the water with them, not scientifically. But yeah, that's kind of why. And to be honest, I never blame the shark. I chose a dangerous life. I was shooting guns, playing with bombs and explosives, riding a big black Italian sports bike, parachuting, jumping out of helicopters into the ocean, diving on mixed gas rebreathers. And I chose a dangerous life. You can't choose danger and then get upset when something goes wrong.
Well, yeah, you were a bomb disposal diver in the Navy.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. Well, that was the position that you were in when you were bitten by the shark. And I mean, did you always want to work in the army, in the defense force? Did you always want to be a public speaker? Did you always want to swim? You know, did you love sharks?
My two biggest fears in life were sharks and public speaking.
Oh, good one.
Yeah. Now I'm literally a shark diving public speaker. The world is a funny thing. Life is strange.
It is. Can you tell me what happened that day that you were attacked?
Well, I'll answer your first question first. No, I didn't have any thought of joining the military at all. That was one of my problems growing up. I didn't have any direction. I didn't know what I was going to do. And so I kind of drifted around, getting into trouble, trying anything that popped up. I was working in the club scene and hospitality. I was making rap music, just...
Yeah, didn't you open for Snoop Dogg?
Yeah.
You did, didn't you?
Yeah, the opening song for the Brisbane concert that Snoop Dogg did in 1998.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah,
I don't believe you.
Did
everyone just leave?
What?
No. I just can't imagine you up on stage opening for Snoop Dogg.
Yeah, I was pretty drunk. Yeah. I had to have a lot of liquid courage. I told you I was scared of public speaking. Now I'm doing rapping, musical poetry on stage. I got really drunk.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just fell into it. I love rap music, and I started doing it when I lived in Canberra a little bit, and then I moved to Brisbane and just fell in with these guys that were running a community radio station and doing the hip-hop nights at the gig in Brisbane, and very involved in the hip-hop community. So I just sort of embedded myself in there and started writing more and performing more. And, I have not a lot of money in white rappers in Brisbane in 1998.
Yeah, no, I
or
can
any
imagine.
rapping.
And then that somehow took you to be a bomb disposable diver.
Disposable bomb diver.
Yes.
That's just one.
A disposable bomb diver.
Uh-huh.
That's pretty much.
Single use. Look, like I said, not a lot of money in rapping. And so the financial constraints took their toll on the group, and things started getting very strained and very stressful, and people started doing things they shouldn't have done with marijuana and getting violent. And I just left. I was like, I'm not enjoying this anymore. I'm going to go. So I ended up going back to working in bars and hotels, and I hated it. And just thinking, is this the best there is? I'd left everything. I left Canberra, my hometown. Well, I wasn't born there, but I lived there for 11 years. I got jumped by 20 guys at a party, and I was working in the club scene, and I was doing some stuff with marijuana.
Is that why you got jumped by the 20 guys?
No, actually, no. I was at a farewell party for a friend of mine. He was being deported for criminal activity, and this is the strength of character of the people I surrounded myself with.
Yeah.
So I was just at that party, hanging with a couple of guys I knew, and this young kid asked me for a beer, and it escalated. I'm like, I'm not buying you a beer. I don't even know who you are. And then it escalated. He started trying to throw beer glasses at me, and so I jumped up, and I'd trained Muay Thai for a while, kickboxing. So I jumped up and went at him. I thought, that's enough. Mm-hmm. And then two of his friends jumped up, and I elbowed one in the face and knocked him out, and then all of his friends popped up,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden I was surrounded by 20 dudes beating the crap out of me. So I went home that night and I thought, you know what, if I don't change something, I'm going to be dead or in jail by the time I'm 23. So I need to do something drastic. And I decided that I needed to remove myself from this environment that I'd become a product of, violence and drugs and drinking and stuff. And so I threw everything into a car that I had no license for. And I drove 12 hours north to this magical place called Vegas.
Vegas.
Where I started working behind a bar in a strip club.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then making rap music. And so, you know, at the end of that, it was about year 2000. Started the year 2000. I was just thinking, is this the best there is? Is this all I'm going to be able to do? I've changed everything. I dropped everything. I changed cities. I changed my environment. I tried to start again and I failed again and I have no idea what I want to do. And I was just looking at bar manager thinking, you know, is that who I want to be? You know, he's sitting at the bar smoking a cigarette, all skinny, probably going back to his family in the burbs. And look, nothing wrong with that.
No.
But I just always felt like there was something greater in the world for me. And I didn't do that great in school. I couldn't really pay attention. I don't know why. I was tired a lot. We were swimming training a lot. And I don't know, I'd probably get diagnosed with ADHD these days. But I didn't do well in school. I didn't like it. And I failed year 12. And so I wasn't a dummy. I was very well read. I knew about the world. I grew up watching David Attenborough and Valerie Taylor and Albie Mangles and the Leyland brothers. And I knew this crazy big world out there existed, but I just didn't know how to be a part of it because I was stuck in Canberra.
Wait, no, Brisbane now. You've moved to Brisbane.
Well, yeah, Brisbane too. And I was just like, what am I going to do? And so I did the one thing that we can always do when we're lost. A cold mum.
And she told you to be a disposable bomb diver.
You were kind of. Well, look, I hadn't talked to my family
Thanks,
much.
Mum.
Dad kicked me out of home at 17 because I was just setting a very poor example for my younger siblings. And it was very hard to deal with at the time. But in hindsight, it was probably the best thing he ever could have done for me because it allowed me to go out into the world and find my feet and realize that you can't just rely on your parents and rely on other people to look after you. So I called Mum and I said, look, I don't know what to do. And she said, why don't you talk to your two younger brothers? They're both in the army and they love it. And so I thought, all right, I'll give them a call. And I called them up and I said, hey, what do you think about me joining the army?
Did they laugh?
They wet their pants. You should have heard them laughing.
I can imagine.
They just couldn't think of anyone less suited to military lifestyle than me.
Yeah, it sounded like you were the most least disciplined human on the planet going into, a lifestyle where you literally, if you don't make your bed, you're in deep trouble.
Mm-hmm. Mum always calls me the most disciplined, undisciplined person she's ever met.
You're quite disciplined though.
In realms that I enjoy. And I think that's true with most of us, though. If we enjoy it, we're going to be disciplined in it because we want to do it. Like I'll get up at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning and go to the gym because I love working out. But people don't like that, so they won't do that. So it's about finding your little niche, your little nook that you like.
So you called your brothers, they laughed their heads off, and then you joined.
Well, then they said, look, it's great. You get paid to travel, you get paid to play sport, you get paid to hang out with your mates. They were both in artillery, so they got paid to shoot the big cannons and rockets. And they just said, well, look, one thing, just don't join infantry. It's too hard. You won't make it.
You joined infantry,
So I joined infantry the next day.
Okay.
And they weren't wrong.
Tell me a little bit about infantry.
Infantry is the first line. They're the guys up the front with the guns and the rocket launchers and the grenade launchers. And, I didn't want to be back in the cheap seats shooting cannons and stuff and working in an office. If you're going to be a soldier, be a soldier. That's what I thought. And they weren't wrong. It was really hard, especially going from being so free in my life to being surrounded by the most disciplined, crazy people on the planet. They say jump, you don't even ask how high. You just start jumping and hope it's high enough. Crazy. I hated it. In basic training at Kapuka, I was struggling because the discipline was just crap. But I did have one thing in my corner. I didn't have a choice. I didn't have a home to go to. I didn't have any qualifications. I didn't finish high school. I didn't have a job. I didn't have any money. Everything I owned was locked up somewhere else on the base in one suitcase.
So you had to jump.
So I had to jump. And so I thought, you know what? I'm going to try and change the way that I perceive the situation now, instead of trying to change my circumstances and run away like I always had before. I tried to look at the things that I did enjoy. I didn't like being on the parade ground in the hot New South Wales country sun, learning how to march, or laying on the hard-baked earth, cocking my machine gun 500 times a day and getting bruised elbows and tendinitis. But I like throwing grenades. I like shooting my machine gun. I got really good at sport again. I hadn't done sport since I was 15 when I was a competitive swimmer. Mm-hmm. And I was smoking a pack a day at some point, and I was drinking a lot. And so that fitness came back, and it comes back really quickly, to the point where at the end of Kapuka, at the end of the 12 weeks, I ended up getting the physical training award for the whole company. And so I started to enjoy it just by trying to focus on the things that I did like, the things that I did enjoy. Mm-hmm. The journey, the PT, the adventure, being
over and over and over again.
You kind of do learn to enjoy it in some way. I don't know how or why, but it's like a challenge. Like, they're trying to break me and I will not be broken. And so I passed that, and then I went off to what's called IETs, initial employment training, where you learn to be an actual infantry soldier. And there was no girls then; it's only guys. Girls were not allowed in combat roles, but they are now, which is wonderful.
You survived.
Yeah. Me too. I remember doing grenade training, and I held the grenade in my left hand, but I'm right-handed, and then I pulled the pin with my right hand, and I was just looking at them both, going, I don't know how to throw with my left hand. What am I going to do with this grenade now? And then the corporal was, "You throw the grenade!" I just threw it like Mr. Burns. He pulled me down behind the wall. I was like,
so you nearly blew yourself up?
A little bit.
Yeah. Okay.
And that set the scene for my whole military career.
So you were
trying not to die.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, you were attacked by a bull shark, and now you work in a job where you get paid to try not to die. That's
pretty much what I do.
That's pretty much what you do. And I know, you're a bit of a curious cat when it comes to, kind of maybe pushing the boundaries, pushing the limits of life a little bit. And I notice when I look at you now, you actually have a huge, beautiful, amazing scar on your face. Was that from the shark attack, or was that from another incident?
No, that was, let me just say that animals find me delicious.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay.
Clearly
they do.
When I was about 6 or 7, I got bitten on the face by a dog.
Yeah.
And
was it a massive dog?
They said it was a collie. I don't really remember it. We weren't allowed to have dogs because my parents had 4 animals already, the kids. And so I was at the health centre. I think we're getting inoculations or something, and there was this dog out the front, and I was pretending to be cool to all the other kids and pretending it was mine. And then they ran off to go to the playground, and I went to give it a goodbye hug, and it just went romp and just grabbed my nose. And I walked into the health centre door, which was right there, and all the mothers, you should have seen their faces. Everyone went white. There was like just blood all down my face. My nose was hanging off my face. My mum was in the office, and she told me, she goes, I had to look because I figured it's probably one of mine. She looked out the door, and there's me holding my nose in my hands.
Oh my goodness. Well, it's a good thing you're at the healthcare centre.
Well, we had to go to the hospital. Someone had to drive us off to the hospital. I'm holding my nose to my face in a handkerchief. Mum's bawling. I'm trying to ease her fears, thinking, yeah, it's saying it's okay, Mum. It's not that bad. It doesn't hurt.
Oh.
And so 18 stitches in my face. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yep. So you've obviously faced...
I feel like it was training.
Yeah, I feel like you've gone through a lot of training in your life, from being bitten by a dog to then going into one of the most challenging work environments that actually humanly exists. And then how did you then end up in the water with a bull shark attached to you?
I went from the Army to the Navy in 2005. And I just kind of wasn't enjoying the army anymore. It was the same exercises every year. I deployed to East Timor in 2002 for 6 months with the UN. And I really enjoyed that, doing my job for real, protecting people, feeling like I was actually making a difference. And then I came back to Australia and it was just training and training and training. And it was just so boring. And then I got offered a trip to Iraq and I was like, hell yeah. It's just a small detachment going out for a couple of months. And 4 days before the trip, 4 days before we leave, they cancelled it. They sent everyone except the infantry soldiers. And so we just went back to the battalion again at 3RAR in Sydney. And I was just back to the old training and being dirty and smelly and walking for days and digging holes to sleep in, digging holes to shit in. Sorry, digging holes to poop in. And I was just like, I can't do this anymore. There's got to be something better out there. But I didn't want to leave the military because I didn't have any skills to do anything else. I could leave the army and become a private military contractor, but not a lot of career opportunities for someone who's trained to shoot people in the face in the real world. And so I thought, you know what? It's a big military. Surely there's something else out there I can do, and I can stay in here under the comfort of my security blanket and a guaranteed paycheck. And I thought about special forces, SAS, and commandos and stuff, but it was more of the same. It was much higher end, but it was more of the same, dirty and smelly. And I wanted something different. And I found out about these guys at clearance divers at a course called Hewitt, Helicopter Underwater Escape Training.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it sounds really fun.
It's down at HMAS Albatross in Nowra, and they have a mocked-up helicopter suspended above a swimming pool. And everyone gets into it, you lock yourself in, and they turn off all the lights in the building. They dunk the helicopter to the bottom of the swimming pool in the pitch dark, flip it upside down, and then you've got to escape using the techniques they taught you. A lot of fun. I loved it. But two of the guys there were safety divers to make sure none of the army guys drowned. And I got talking to them, and they were clearance divers. And I was like, oh, I've heard of these guys. I don't really know what they do. I know they're a bit special. No one looks directly at them. Just sort of says, oh, there's those guys. And I thought to myself, what's stopping me from being one of those guys? And what's stopping me from being someone that other people in my industry look up to? And we ask ourselves these hard questions sometimes, and we treat them as hypothetical because sometimes they're just too hard. Like, I don't have an answer for it, so I'm just going to put that on the back burner and worry about that later. But those big, hard questions, they're the ones that deserve and require the answer the most. Mm-hmm. And so I asked myself again, what's stopping me? I didn't have an answer, so I thought, stuff it, I'm going to give it a go. I had heard about the selection process. I heard it was really, really difficult. And so I started training as hard as I could. And I got my shot. I went to the first phase, which is ships divers, where you learn to scuba dive and search the hulls of ships for bombs, which was great because I'd never done either of those. Pretty steep learning curve because I had to learn how to be in the Navy as well. I didn't know what a port or an aft. I'd never spent any time on boats. That was another element there. And then learning the sciences behind diving. And I passed that by the skin of my teeth. And then after that, you go on to the selection course, which was called CDAT, Clearance Diver Acceptance Testing. 10 days of pure mental, emotional, and physical anguish.
Like?
The first night, they'll wake you up at 11 p.m. and you have to swim from Mossman to Manly across the harbour in the pitch black waters at night, and then back. Takes 5 or 6 hours. And it's not swimming. You link arms, you have your overalls on, and you have a pair of fins, and you all line out, and you link arms, and you lay on your back, and you kick your legs with your fins for 6 hours. For the rest of the week, you wake up in the middle of the night kicking the bunk above you in your dreams. And then you might get a couple hours sleep, and then you'll run a half marathon. And then it's pack marches, stretcher carries, first aid stands, mind games, breath hold, pulling boats through the harbour in the middle of the night, kayaking, carrying kayaks up mountains. 10 days, non-stop. Mm-hmm. I lost about 10 kilos. 70% of my course quit, most of them on the first day. Yep. But I passed.
Okay, well, and then what happened?
Then I go into 47 weeks of clearance diver training, where you learn to do everything from maritime tactical operations, diving on pure oxygen rebreathers and doing reconnaissance and bombing raids in the middle of the night. mine countermeasures, jumping out of aircraft and off ships to go
Okay, I get it. You have done, all right, so I understand.
Lots of stuff.
You've done lots of stuff that has literally made you way more hardcore than the average person.
No, I'm not hardcore at all.
You're very, 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 your mental strength in comparison to a lot of humans would be, exceptionally much more greater. I've got so many questions, so we need to just
jam them in there.
Yeah.
All right, you're getting one word answers from now on.
No, I don't want one word answers. I just want to get into the nitty gritty, about you and the shark attack. And then I have so many questions about that because I want to understand how your brain processed what you went through, how you chose to process what you went through, how that affected you. As you can see, I have a lot of questions. Yeah. So let's talk about that and then we'll move on to all of the other questions, which are 2 pages long with everything else in your life I'd like to know about. Is it hard for you to talk about the shark attack?
No, I've talked about it in depth for years now.
Great, let's go.
All right.
Let's get deep.
February 11th, 2009, I was in Woolloomooloo on my back in Sydney Harbour doing a counter-terrorism training exercise. So basically the R&D department of the military were testing unmanned video and sonar so they could see if it would work and detect attack swimmers coming to put bombs on our ships. I was pretending to be an attack swimmer. I just pulled my new guy out of the water and jumped in. And I was just swimming from point A to point B with a wetsuit on and a pair of fins. And I was in the water for about 4 or 5 minutes. And I just felt this enormous whack in my leg. And I looked down and came face to face with my first shark. And I didn't really know what to do. I'd never seen a big dangerous shark before. It took seconds for my brain to process it. It doesn't look like that in the video, which is actually on YouTube. You can watch me getting eaten live on YouTube. But I look back on it, it's just, I can see it and think about it piece by piece by piece, second by second. And I guess the shark decided it wanted my limbs more than I did. It had grabbed me by the back of the hamstring and my right hand. And even though I tried to fight it off, there was nothing I could do. This thing was huge.
How big was that?
The scientists measured the bite in my wetsuit and my leg afterwards, and they said it was between 2.7 and 3 meters long. So on the bigger scale of bull sharks. So there's just nothing you can do. There's 600 pounds of muscle in its element, and you realize just how under-equipped you are to do anything in the water when something like that happens. And shark conservationists will say, we don't like to use the word attack. We like to use, interaction or investigatory bite and things like that. No, this thing was attacking me. It was eating me. It was ripping the hamstring and my hand out of my body. And I thought I was going to die. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm not going home today. I'm going to die right now. And then I asked myself, well, are you ready to die? And I look back on my life from where I'd started out as that lost, misguided youth who was bullied and self-harming to what I'd accomplished in my life and my job. And I thought, you know what? I lived 10 lives in these 31 years. If I'm going to die right now, I have no regrets. I'm good to go. And then the shark, its jaws met in the middle of my leg. It ripped my hand off, and because I had my wetsuit on, I was positively buoyant, so I popped to the surface, took my first gasp of fresh air, and realized I wasn't dead. And so I thought, well, I got to get back to the boat before this thing comes back.
Hadn't anyone seen you being attacked?
Yeah, I had 3 teammates in the safety boat, and they were coming towards me at the same time, but they were a fair way off. And so I had to swim back to the boat. And so I went to take a stroke, and that was when I saw that my arm ended at the end of my wetsuit. And I couldn't feel my leg. And I don't remember it, but the guys said that when they got in close, they could see I was swimming through a massive pool of my own blood. They said it was so thick they could actually taste it in the air. And all I thought was I got to get out of the water before the shark comes back. My medical training kicked in. I kept my arm above my heart to try and stem the bleeding, not knowing that I had an artery in my leg pumping out blood. And I just had laser-like focus. All I have to do is get to the boat. One job, just get to the boat. And I didn't think I was going to make it. I didn't think that at all, but I did. And the guys pulled me out of the water, and just out of the sheer relief of being not eaten anymore, I relaxed, my eyes rolled back in my head, and I passed out. And my mate Tomo sprung into action, and he straddled me and he started giving me what we call a series of short, sharp jabs to the chest to stimulate my heart and wake me back up. And it worked. And I looked over. My hand was gone, freshly bitten off by a shark. And I looked up and Tomo was beating the crap out of me. And I just thought, today sucks.
Sorry.
She's laughing at my pain.
No, it just was so relieving to just laugh because I've been sitting here just visualizing that entire thing. And yeah, I mean, I've seen the shark attack footage on YouTube, and I've seen it in the latest documentary that you were in on Netflix, Seaspiracy. But what I didn't realize was that you are underwater for the majority of the attack, not on the surface. Because in the YouTube footage, we see somebody in the water splashing around, being you. But I mean, that for me just adds, it just adds another level of terror. Being underwater, being attacked.
Because I had the element of drowning at the same time.
Exactly.
Because I just expelled all my air yelling in pain, and then it took me underwater and I was going to drown. I was in agony. Everything was going wrong.
And how, I mean, yeah, because I hold my breath. I hold my breath underwater a lot. And for me, that just added a whole nother element of just a whole nother shock factor.
Yeah, it was not a good day at work.
No.
I haven't had worse than that, but you know, there's a lot of good that has come out of it. I'm a little slower now, sure. Got to put on a leg in the morning and take it off at night, and I can't run without changing limbs, and I can't weightlift without changing limbs, but at the same time, I've gained so much, and people ask me, you know, would you change it? And I wouldn't change it. Not because I wouldn't like my hand and my leg back. I really would. That would make life really easy. But because I don't live in the past. There's no point. You can't change anything like that. There's no going back. You just make the most of what you have.
Well, in a way, you know, you've recreated yourself. You know, you've been attacked by a bull shark, and then you again are now wanting to save the oceans and the sharks, which maybe wouldn't have happened if you'd had not been attacked by a bull shark.
Absolutely not.
Exactly.
I hated sharks.
Yeah.
I hated them.
And public speaking.
I just thought if we killed all the sharks, then we won't have to worry about anything. We could just go swim in the ocean. It'd be great.
Yeah. And
not knowing the ecological and environmental stability that they create in the oceans.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing, earlier on in our conversation, you said it's all about the way that you perceive something. So you've just you've just restructured, or, you know, you've relooked at your perception on what your life was and how you were going to better that or recreate and be who you were and who you are now based off what happened to you.
Yeah.
So what happened after the attack? How did you how long were you in hospital for?
9 weeks.
9 weeks.
Yeah.
And did you, with your arm and your leg, when you got into hospital, did they immediately operate, or did the doctors talk to you about it? Were you conscious? Were you in a coma?
I remember getting wheeled in and trying to bribe the doctor with a case of beer to save my leg because I just started surfing. And he just looked at me and shook his head. But yeah, I got wheeled into
and you can surf?
No, I've been towed into a wave like 8 foot, I think, for show Manly Surf. But I learned to do that in one afternoon. I haven't done it since. I would like to, but I'm getting a surfing leg made. But yeah, they had the surgery all set up, waiting for me, straight into emergency surgery. Shout out to everyone out there that donates blood to the Red Cross. You saved my life. I went through 300 donations of blood, 150 litres of blood. They poured it into me. It just kept coming out. So you can have all the best doctors in the world, the best mentality, whatever. But without those amazing people donating their blood, I would be dead right now.
Thank you.
Everyone, donate blood.
Thank you to those people, and thank you to the Red Cross.
Mm-hmm.
So they pumped a lot of blood in you, and you bribed the doctor with a case of beer because you wanted him to save your leg. And what happened next? Did he have a conversation or try and have one with you?
No, I was out. They knocked me out for 2 days.
And you woke up. What happened when you woke up?
Induced coma. I remember waking up at one point, looking down and seeing my foot was there. And because I still had my leg, the shark had just removed the entire hamstring. And so I looked down and I saw my foot was still there, and I was happy about that because I thought, you know what, if my hand's gone, I can't change anything about that.
Yeah.
But if I can keep my leg, then maybe life will go on as normal, and maybe I can keep this job that I love so much. But day by day, the foot got darker and darker, and a week after the shark attack, the surgeon came in and broke it down for me and gave me the fundamentals that I'll never be able to move it. I'll never be able to feel it. If I keep it, which I could have, I'll walk with a limp. I'll never run again. Or I can have the leg taken off and I could be running, walking, possibly running on a prosthetic within 12 months. And I was so high on morphine and a horse tranquilizer called ketamine that I looked him square in the face and I said, "Doc, you can take my leg, turn me into a Terminator." Once again, everyone just shook their head at me. Everyone's so serious all the time.
You're lying on a bed close to death.
I was so high. I legitimately thought they could turn me into a Terminator. But I didn't want to, you know what, he gave me a day to think about it, but I didn't want to. I just wanted to get on with life. I didn't want to have this unfeeling lump of wood attached to me, carrying it around. And I didn't want my happiness and my motivation and my fitness to suffer. I just wanted to get on with life. So I had the leg taken off.
But there must have been a lot of mental healing to do, you know, having made that choice, as well as the physical healing.
I wouldn't say a lot. I don't know why I'm able to do this.
If we listen to the last one, the last little bit of our conversation, you know, it's evident that you're a very, very strong person, but you're also incredibly caring.
I don't know if I agree with that. I just don't worry about it. It's like it's out of my control. What am I going to do? Like, I can't get upset that I don't have a leg. It's just not there. Like, I just don't have it. Why get upset about it? Like, just deal with it and do the best you can with what you got. So, man, I'm so lucky. You know, I've got the best prosthetics in the world from Veteran Affairs. Some people don't. Some people don't have anything. And I've seen how third world countries are and all that sort of stuff. So I feel so lucky that I get to live in a first world country, an amazing country like Australia. I live in the States now as well. But I get the best prosthetics, I get the best medical care. I cannot complain. There is no way. I have a duty to use these tools and these prosthetics and this mindset to try and uplift others and make a difference with the voice that I have, because I feel like one of the worst things you can do is have a voice that matters and not use it. So, yeah, I just don't think about it.
Fair enough. So with your arm, I mean, how can I even ask this question? I feel like this is going to be the most stupid question in the world.
Go on, I
haven't even thought of the question. I just, you know, you have a hand, and now you have it moves.
It moves.
It moves.
Yeah.
How
it beeps.
And
you see the little kids in the elevator.
Is that a bomb that you've got?
Yeah, I wish. Flamethrower, some Wolverine claws. Look at this stupid black hand.
It's not stupid. It's
no,
awesome.
It's great. It's great. It's a $90,000 beer holder.
You have a $90,000 beer holder.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
There's no body heat, so it keeps the beer cool longer.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, and a $200,000 leg, so I basically rock a Ferrari every day.
Fair enough. This is good.
Dude, this is good.
This is good.
Look, one thing I did worry about was girls.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it would have. Again, this is like, you know, but you just so hot though. Like, even though you don't have an arm and a leg, it's like it's more sex appeal. You know, I want to go talk to this guy. It's like a girl goes into a bar and she sees a hot guy normally, right? He's hot. I wonder how I can talk to him. And, you know, you kind of work your way in. But you see a guy who's half oops. but but a girl walks into a bar and she sees you and you're ripped, you have tats, you're incredibly good looking, and you have you have one arm and one leg gone, and it's
Blushing.
replaced by this awesome mechanical. It's mechanical, robotic.
It's all those things. It's electronic, mechanical, robotic,
Yeah. So
cyborgy.
you must have some great pickup lines.
No, I don't at all.
'Cause-
I don't pick up girls. Look, I have no game. I don't ever want to put myself in a position or the other person in a position whereby they have to turn me down and feel bad because I'm just not their cup of tea. And I don't want to have that on myself as either. I don't want to get rejected for things that I don't have any control over, like my limbs and stuff. And I get it, it might not be some people's ideal person of someone they want to date. That's fine by me. So I just don't.
So you just don't date?
No, I do date. I just don't try and pick up anyone. If once I know someone is interested in me, then I'm good. I'm okay. Like I have all the confidence in the world because I don't. It doesn't matter. Like if they're gonna like me, they're gonna like me. If they're not, they're not. It doesn't matter to me.
So why did you say that it will? I mean, before, when just backtracking a couple of minutes, what?
Because that was a hard lesson to learn. Because in the beginning, I was terrified. When I was in hospital and I had my leg chopped off, and I honestly, even when I came home for a while, I cried myself to sleep more nights than I can even tell you, out of fear, out of pain, out of loss and frustration, of not knowing the uncertainty of where my life was going to go from here. I was so scared. And I just had these visions of people looking at me with pity and girls not being interested. Who would be interested in a guy with one leg and one hand? So our imaginations and our own thoughts can be our worst enemy a lot of the times. And so we need to get them in check first. We need to give ourselves the positive dialogue inside our heads, because the more that you start corrupting your own thoughts with negativity, the easier it is to just call on those thoughts whenever you want. So we need to keep giving this positive mindset, the positive internal dialogue.
How did you do that? What was your light?
It was slow. You can't do it all at once. It was what it was. A lot of it was fitness, to be honest. That's my therapy. I've never done counseling. I did all my own rehab. I did my own counseling. I don't have PTSD. I don't have depression. I don't have flashbacks. I don't have nightmares. I don't know. I started thinking that there was something wrong with me because there was nothing wrong with me. Sure.
There is. There's a lot wrong with you.
Nothing to do with the shark attack.
That's another podcast. Yeah. That's another show. Yeah. And it is nothing to do with
It's practice. It's all it is. How do you get better at anything? How do you get better at riding a bike? How do you get better at reading and writing? Our emotional state is no different to a physical movement. Anything we practice, we get better at. So practice telling yourself these positive affirmations. That works. Telling yourself, give like a mantra,
Is that what you did though? I want to bring it back to you.
I just wouldn't allow those negative thoughts in. Okay. And if they did keep creeping in and I couldn't control them, I'd go and do something I love. Sometimes, one of the best pieces of advice I got was from a very good friend of mine, Stephen Dallacosta, and he said, never feel bad about feeling bad. Feel bad. It's all right. We're humans. We're supposed to experience the full spectrum of human emotion. And so feel bad and then go and do something that makes yourself feel better. So I do. I eat a bucket of dairy-free Ben & Jerry's. I watch a movie and escape reality for a little while. I go to the gym. I get outside in nature. All of these things are triggers. Everything in life around you is a trigger. I know mine. I know what makes me happy. I know what makes me sad. I know what makes me hungover. That's a pretty easy one. Drinking red wine with you.
It was a good night.
So if you can identify your triggers and surround yourself in the positive triggers, then you're setting yourself up for success. You're setting yourself up for a positive mindset.
Okay.
So that's what I did. I don't believe in making things more complicated than they already are, because life is too complicated. Keep things simple. It's simple. You got a choice. What's your choice going to be?
But what I find really interesting, and I just have to put this out here, is that you were attacked by a bull shark.
Mm.
It took your arm and it took your leg. But you want to protect sharks and you swim with them and you've swam and interacted. You've had more shark encounters than probably most people in the
Ever want.
ever want or ever will. But here we are, we're speaking about triggers, but you're still able to go on the water and like hand feed bull sharks and swim with great hammerheads and teach people how to interact with these apex predators. Is that not a trigger for you?
It's a positive trigger for me because I shifted my perspective from not having the knowledge about sharks to learning, because knowledge dispels fear. And so I didn't really give a crap about sharks to begin with.
Okay, so I'd really like to keep on this thought track because it's fascinating. What happened when you went back into the water after your shark attack?
The very first time was at Manly Sea Life Aquarium for, I think it was for 60 minutes or something. And there was grey nurse sharks.
So they threw you in the water?
Yeah. The next year they threw me in the water with bull sharks in Fiji. So the first time I knew the grey nurse shark wasn't going to attack me, but it did have a lot of teeth hanging out of its face. Yep. And I did kind of envision it turning around and ripping my face off. And so I looked at the tail and I eased myself into it. And then, I did that a few times for charity events and things like that. And then, 60 Minutes came back around a year or two later and said, hey, we want to introduce you to the shark that nearly killed you. Would you be down for that? And I'm like, free trip to Fiji? Hell yeah. And so it was so daunting for anyone that's been to Bengal Lagoon in Fiji and seen the sharks. This is one of the only places in the world you can dive with up to 7 different species of shark, and they're everywhere, like 30 bull sharks, and then white tips and reefs and tigers turn up.
And don't bull sharks have the most testosterone than any animal on the entire planet?
More testosterone than an adult bull elephant is what I was told.
Holy, okay.
Yeah, so they're wild.
Wow.
Unpredictable. And on that trip, everyone had taken off. It was the last dive of the last day, and I'd been watching the feeder, Brandon, who was an ex-South African clearance diver, so we get along really well, and it was just me and Brandon and Sam, the camera guy, and all 60 Minutes had taken off, and I was just thinking, you know what? Been watching this. I can do this. And I looked at Brennan. I looked at the bucket with the fish heads in it, and I raised my eyebrows, and he gave me the nod. So I reached in there and grabbed a big tuna head and fed my first bull shark. And it was
Which
awesome.
hand did you use?
The only one I got left.
Oh, now you have,
well, this one's not waterproof. I can't take that diving, so I have to use this one.
Silly question. Is your robotic arm waterproof? No, Julia. No, it's not.
But the robotic leg is, not to depth though. But yeah, that was healing. I got to see these animals in their environment, not as the media would have us see them as vicious man-eating terrors stalking the coastline waiting to eat your babies. But beautiful, just charismatic, amazing animals just existing in their home. Mm-hmm. And we paint them as these vicious killers, and they're just not. They're just sharks doing sharky stuff. And I learned, as I said before, the knowledge dispels fear. The more I learned about sharks, the more I realized how little we have to fear of them and how much they have to fear from us. And that's where the transfer of service comes in, because they are getting decimated. They don't deserve it. They're fundamentally, we need them. We need them for the oceans, for fish stocks to stay healthy. If you don't know why, watch Seaspiracy, watch some documentaries, watch Shark Week. You will learn why they're so important. And I tell you what, I've taken so many people diving with them, from just normal everyday people to Mike Tyson, Will Smith, Ronda Rousey, and all of them go into the water with fear, and all of them come out saying it was the best experience of their life. Lost for words.
I just had a lot of thoughts going on in my head. A lot of things,
I love it. I love doing it. I love being able to share this knowledge that I have. And
are you still scared of them though?
No, I have a very healthy respect.
Are you scared of death?
No. Take it from someone who's
You've made peace with death.
Yeah. I faced it in the most horrific and violent and terrifying of ways, and came out of it realizing that death's not scary.
And that's why, again, you have a job where you avoid dying. So let's talk about quickly Discovery, because we have to wrap up soon. Discovery Networks, you are contracted to them for 3 years.
A further 3 years, yeah. We just signed another contract. Two or four. I think they get an option. It's whatever. They like me. They'll keep me around for a while.
Well, that's good. Can you tell me give me two of the craziest things that you've done for a Shark Week show?
You promise you won't get mad at me for being stupid?
Well, I mean, I can't control that anymore.
Okay, so, all right. So the craziest one, one of the ones I tell people and they just look at me like I'm the biggest idiot in the world. It was called Laws of Jaws 2. And we were in the Bahamas and we were surrounded by great white sharks, tiger sharks, bull sharks, hammerheads, lemon sharks, Caribbean reef sharks. And
amazing.
Yeah, it's the crystal clear waters. You've been there. It's beautiful.
It's incredible.
And so the show Laws of Jaws is about kind of like breaking myths and stuff. And so we had this myth, are sharks attracted to human blood? And so the normal person would just like put some human blood in the water. Not Paul Degelder. Paul Degelder drains half a litre of his own blood on the back of the boat into a bag, jumps off the back of the boat in a pair of shorts and fins, and breaks open his own bag of blood surrounded by all the sharks just to see what happens.
Are you absolutely crazy?
I've been told that, but I don't
Why
think so.
Why did you do that?
Well, look, I did it because I wanted. It's the Shark Week way, for one. Two.
But what happened?
Nothing. I wanted to find out for real, for firsthand. I didn't want to test it. I wanted this to show. And they did nothing.
So you wanted to show by draining a litre of your own blood into a bag and jumping off a moving vessel into shark-infested waters and then releasing the blood into the water surrounded by sharks. You wanted to show the world that sharks don't hunt humans. They're not interested in us.
Yeah, well, the vessel wasn't moving, but everything else pretty much right.
But why?
But yeah, I did. And you know what? It's it might have been a very different story with great white sharks because, as we know, they actually do consume mammals. But fish blood is different. It's got different fats and iron contents and pH balances and all that sort of stuff. So after I did my own blood, they threw a bucket of fish blood into the water and I swam through that. And then I did have to protect myself. And the reason I did it was because I'm confident in my skills at handling sharks. I know where to touch them. I know how to deal with them. And so I did have to deal with the sharks when the fish blood went in. And it's to show people, you don't have to worry about that old myth where you got a little cut in your finger and sharks are going to smell it from 10,000 leagues away. But if you see someone fishing from a wharf or from a boat or gutting, anything like that, stay the hell away from them because that is like ringing the dinner bell.
Okay. So top 3 tips for people who are scared of sharks. That was number 1. Give me 2 more.
Start learning about sharks. Watch shows about them. You'll see that they're not what we've been told they are. You get into the water, do it, but do it slowly. Come shark diving with me.
Well, one more. I know you say watch shows and read about them. Discovery Shark Week? They don't. It's not a very gentle approach to the perception of sharks.
Hey,
I think
my shows are.
Yeah, your shows are. But overall, do you think, what do you think about that? Should people be really steering content and documentaries more towards softening sharks' nature? Because if we look at Steven Spielberg's Jaws, that created mass terror. Yeah.
Yeah, but we're more intelligent now.
Are we?
Well, okay, sure.
Let's be real.
I think people should be more worried about people that can't tell the difference between a movie in real life and documentaries than worrying about sharks. And most people aren't going to go out there killing sharks. The people that are killing sharks are already killing sharks, and they're not doing it out of hate or anything out of that. They're doing it because it's a business, one. They make money off it, either by selling the shark or by taking tourists out to kill sharks, or they're just fishermen that love killing fish. And a lot of the time, you're just not going to be able to change those people. But what we can change is the people that are consuming it, that are spending their money to eat this animal that is not good for you. It's full of poisonous heavy metals. It's destroying the ocean. If we can change the perspective of those people, then there'll be no market for it. If you're not giving them money, there's no business.
But don't we need people to not fear sharks for them to be able to support not killing them?
I think Shark Week has come a long way. I don't think they're really, really smashing this sharks are terrifying monsters anymore. Like, the narrator does say some stupid stuff sometimes. But look.
I like Shark Week.
Yeah.
I'm just, I'm playing devil's advocate here for the people who, we want to protect sharks. We want to protect the ocean. But if we fear sharks, if people fear sharks, they're not going to go swimming in the ocean. They're not going to educate themselves. Yeah. They're not going to care about the protection of these environments and ecosystems. If they're like, going to the beach and think, I'm going to get eaten by a shark.
Why would you get eaten by? You've got more chance of dying on the way to the beach, but you still get in the car. Come on.
No,
seven people on average around the world die from a shark attack.
Yeah.
Like
every
200,
year.
something like 290 people died from drowning just from Australia last year. So what should you be more concerned about? It's so rare. It's not even a blip on the radar. So look, Shark Week does have the big flashy titles, Great White Serial Killer and all that sort of stuff. But if you watch the shows, they're not actually promoting sharks killing people by any means.
No, of course
they're just
not.
big flashy titles. And some people love those big blockbuster Great White movies.
And I know that you wouldn't be involved in them if they were doing that. And one of my last questions is, how have you changed your life since you were attacked by a shark in order to help preserve the marine environment?
The way that I do it is I have a platform through Shark Week and through my shark attack where I travel and I speak, where I, promote people that are really making the real difference, people like groups like Sea Shepherd, like Shark Allies, people that are changing the legislation to stop shark finning and things like that. And I try and teach people. I'm the conduit. Like, I'm not the expert. Like I said, what I am is I'm the conduit between the scientists we have on the show and the audience, asking the questions that most of them I know the answer to already, but the general public probably don't. And so I ask all the questions that I think people would want to know about what we're doing, where we are, how I'm feeling, what are these sharks, how can we protect them, just all the information. More information is better. And, Steve Irwin said, if you can make people fall in love with something, they'll want to protect it. And so I want people to fall in love with these sharks and see them the way that I see them, just as beautiful, remarkable, pieces of evolution, 400 million years old. These things are older than trees, and they're facing extinction just from the last 50 years of humans. So we need to take a check. We need to pull ourselves in a line and stop trying to destroy this planet. And sharks are just one small piece of that.
Great.
I know you like sharks.
I love them.
So I'm preaching to the choir over here.
No, look, I think you're an incredible person and this is exciting, and I'm so happy to be sitting here talking to you about this stuff because, look, I've had some experience with sharks, but it doesn't come even close to, where you've been, what you've seen, what has happened to you. And I find it so truly remarkable and humbling that you have taken a stance you've taken a stance in wanting to protect and preserve what we have left. And it's, I think there is still hope. And thank you for telling me your story.
No worries. And, I'm sure there'll be lots more little gold nuggets as time goes on and we keep doing these shows. I'll tell you some more stories, like swimming great whites without a cage and all that good stuff.
Well, let's do that next time. Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Jules.